Andrew, well, time to look at your money. An estimated 200 million Americans watched last night's Super Bowl game that set the record for the most watched television event in American history. But it also set a different type of record. Super Bowl 58 officially became the single most heavily wagered sporting event in American history. And joining us now is Mark Gravachevsky with the Quad Cities Investment Group. Good morning.
Morning to you.
Yeah, so let's break down all of this. What are some of those statistics from last night's Super Bowl?
The Super Bowl has always been one of the more heavily watched television events. Last night, an estimated 200 million Americans were expected to have watched last night's event. That broke the previous record, which was the 150 million Americans that watched the Apollo 11 moon landing back on July 20th of 1969. But this recent surge in sports betting all ties back to that landmark 2018 Supreme Court decision that nullified the federal ban that prohibited betting on sporting events. So last night, a record high, 67.8 million adult Americans were expected to have wagered on last night's Super Bowl game. This represents about 26% of all U.S. adults. A record high, $23.1 billion was expected to have been wagered on last night's game, up $7.1 billion from last year. Now, if you actually wanted to go watch the game, as of Friday, the cheapest Super Bowl ticket in the nosebleed section, $6,281, and no, that didn't even come with the free parking pass.
Oh, gosh.
Again, as of Friday morning, the most expensive Super Bowl ticket, $51,030 for a single ticket in the 15th row. But let's say you and a bunch of your buddies wanted to rent out a luxury skybox suite with free food, free drinks. Those were going for as high as $1.4 million to about $2.5 million. And then finally, a cold, refreshing brew at the stadium concession stand last night, between $14 and $18. If you're not a beer drinker, a glass of wine was going for $17, though I'm not quite sure how good a glass of wine would be at a football game.
Yeah, and they didn't care how much it was going to cost. They got to get it anyway, right?
That's right.
And then one of the other most interesting and important parts of the Super Bowl parties.
Yep.
Talk about some of those interesting facts.
For many Americans, going to a Super Bowl party is just as or even more important than watching the game itself. Last night, here we go, 112.2 million Americans either hosted or attended a Super Bowl party. The average cost to host that Super Bowl party, $86.04, up about 5% from last year. But look at this, just 44% of all those Americans who went to a Super Bowl party said watching the game is the most important aspect of the Super Bowl. Others said it was, watching the Super Bowl commercials, the halftime performance, or just to be a part of the festivities. Talking about those Super Bowl commercials, this year, a 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl was going to cost advertisers $7 million. And on Super Bowl Sunday, Americans were to consume 32 million gallons of beer and 88 million pounds of cheese, though I am quite sure if the Green Bay Packers were playing in last night's game, this would have easily quadrupled.
Of course, not any bias or anything, you know. Oh, and I'm sure the beer is still overflowing at this point.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I'll have to get in Andrew's pocket for that 30-second commercial for next year's Super Bowl. We'll see about his wallet. But all right, thanks, Mark.
Absolutely.